Have you ever wanted to add some jazz sophistication and colour to your guitar playing? Well, if you have, you're in the right place. Hello, I'm Mike Hayes, and in this session we're going to look at ways to add contrasting and complementary colours to your guitar playing. Well, as you know, there's a lot of old wives' tales around. Like if you eat your carrots, it'll improve your eyesight. And if you eat the crusts of your bread, you'll grow curly hair. Well, there's these types of things that have been handed down in the history of music as well. You see, in days gone by, they wanted to achieve this contrast in colours and psychological poles, if you like, in the sounds that they were creating and writing. But unfortunately, a lot of the times they were trying to work it out tonally, not geometrically. So quite often they got it wrong. In other words, the original patterns that existed in the music were not correctly represented. So today we're going to clear up a lot of this smoke and mirrors stuff, and we're going to look at ways of actually working out the best way to get the most contrast out of the music that you're playing. Now, we're going to start with the major scale, which I think is a great place to start. What do you think is the most contrasting sound to the major scale? Is it the natural minor? No. Is it the melodic minor? No. Well, it must be the harmonic minor. No. Let's watch the rest of the video and find out what scale is the complementary scale to the major scale. I think you'll find it's a bit of a surprise. Take it away, Mike. In today's session, we're setting out to discover the most complementary and contrasting scales and harmonies for our music. And we're going to achieve this by geometrical inversions. And what better place to start than by examining the psychological poles of major and minor scales. As it turns out, the commonly used harmonic minor scale is an incorrect geometrical inversion of the natural minor scale. Having said that, let's work out what scale is the most contrasting scale to the major. If you've been following our channel for a while, you will no doubt be familiar with this diagram. The top line is an ascending C chromatic scale. The bottom line is a descending C chromatic scale. The first step is to select the notes of the C major scale on the top line. And then on the bottom line, directly under the notes of the C major scale, we'll find the most contrasting and complementary notes to the major scale. The next step is to read the contrasting notes on the bottom line from right to left. When we read from right to left, we have the following notes: C, D flat, E flat, F, G, A flat, B flat, C. This series of notes make up the notes of a C Phrygian scale, and this is the scale that we'll be focusing on in this session. Let's get the ball rolling with a 2-octave C major scale. And now here's the C Phrygian scale. In a recent video, we spoke about the importance of practicing scales with a drone background. Here is a 1-octave C major scale with a drone background, followed by a 1-octave C Phrygian scale, so you can get an idea of the contrast. Okay, now let's see how we can use this information to help create our own unique style on guitar. On the screen at the top of the page, you'll see 2 lines under the heading of C major. The top line represents triads created from the C major scale. The second line is the scale tone 7th chords, again from the scale of C major. At the bottom of the page, you'll see the harmonies that are created from the C Phrygian scale. In these next examples, I'm going to alternate between playing a chord selected from the scale of C major with a chord selected from the C Phrygian scale. And this, of course, is a fun way to practice your scales, playing C major over the harmony that's created from the C major scale, and then moving to the C Phrygian scale as the harmony moves to chords that are produced from the C Phrygian scale. In this next example, I'm using some upper extensions in some of the chords. I'm adding in 11ths, 9ths, sharp 11, and so on. And the idea is that any of the notes that I'm adding in as upper extensions are notes that are in the relevant parent scale. So for example, when I'm adding in the note F to the C minor chord, the criteria is that the note F is part of the C Phrygian scale. And of course, as you can see, it is in the C Phrygian scale. As you can hear, some really interesting sounds. Now, if you're having trouble trying to get into soloing over these chord changes, a good idea is to start with common notes. So in other words, between the two scales, there's the first note, the C is common to both scales, the F note is common to both scales, and also the G note. So it mightn't be a bad idea to start just playing some of those notes, C, F or G, and seeing if that helps. Here's another example for you to listen to and practice with. For my next example, I'm going to create a 2-bar chord progression in the key of C major. And then using geometrical inversions, I'm going to work out the most contrasting set of chords to my original progression. The progression that I'm going to use will be a slight variation on a 2-5-1. The chords I'm going to use is 2 beats on D minor 7, 2 beats on F with a G bass, and this chord will be functioning as a G 11th type chord, and then a bar of C major 7th. Let's work out these contrasting chords together. The first chord is D minor 7th. Our first step will be to identify the notes in a D minor 7, and we'll do that on the top line. D, F, A, C. Then we'll mark in the notes on the bottom line that are directly under the notes of the D minor 7. Under the D we have B flat, under the F we have G, under the A we have E flat, and below the C note we have C. The next step will be to read the notes on the bottom line from right to left. The notes are C, E flat, G, B flat, which spells C minor 7. So the most contrasting chord to D minor 7 turns out to be C minor 7. Okay, let's move on to the next chord, F with a G bass. Firstly, I'll look for the notes in an F chord, which is F, A, C, and then I'll mark in the bass in a different colour. Okay, so the next step is we're going to identify the notes on the bottom line directly below the notes on the top line that we've just selected. Once we've done that, we'll read the notes on the bottom line from right to left. The first thing we're looking for are the notes in the triad, which will be C, E flat, G. That spells a C minor triad. And then the next thing we look for is the bass note, which in this instance is the note G. Therefore, the most contrasting chord to the F with a G bass is C minor with an F bass. And now it's time to find the most contrasting chord to C major 7. First we'll mark in the notes in a C major 7th chord on the top line. C, E, G, B. Then we'll find their corresponding notes on the bottom line. Then after we've done this, we'll read the notes on the bottom line from right to left. And the notes are D flat, F, A flat, C, which are the notes of a D flat major 7th. Therefore, the most contrasting chord to C major 7th turns out to be D flat major 7. And now that we have our two sets of chords, we can practice the C major scale over the 2-5-1 in C and the C Phrygian scale over the new chords that we've just discovered. In this next example, I'm using a combination of chords from the C major scale and the C Phrygian scale. I'm starting the chord sequence with D minor 7, then F with a G bass, so that's in the key of C, and then I'm borrowing a chord from C Phrygian. I'm playing a D flat major 7. And you'll hear that this adds an element of surprise to the chord sequence. This next example begins with a D minor 7th chord from the C major scale, And then I'm playing C minor with an F bass, which is from the C Phrygian scale. And I'm doing this to create extra drama and tension. And finally, I'm resolving the chord sequence with the C major 7th chord, which of course is from the C major scale. Let's have a listen. Well, I think it's fair to say that we've barely scratched the surface with this approach to finding new sounds in music that you can apply to the guitar fingerboard. And I sincerely hope that it helps you find your own musical voice on guitar. If you'd like to delve further into this subject, we have a PDF with some downloads that you can purchase from our store. And I'll put a link in the description below if you'd like to check it out. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the like button because it really helps us out, and I'd like to wish you all the best with your guitar playing. Bye for now.